I now invite His Excellency Dr. John Garang the Mabior, Chairman of the Sudanese People's Liberation Movement and Army, Splm, SPLA, to make his statement. Dr. John Garang.
Your Excellency President Mwai Kibaki, Your Excellency former President Daniel Arap Moi, Your Excellencies heads of state and government, Your Excellencies ambassadors and representatives of the international organizations, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, compatriots, fellow countrymen and women, allow me at the outset to convey to you my best wishes for the new year. The year 2005 will mark a year of peace, not only for the whole of Sudan, but equally throughout our sub-region and Africa as a whole. On this joyous day and occasion, I greet and salute all the people of Sudan, from Nimule in the far south to Halfa in the far north, and from Geneinah in the far west to Hamashkoreb and Port Sudan in the east. I greet and salute all the marginalized rural people of the Sudan who have suffered in dignified silence for so long. I greet and salute all the farmers, workers, and professionals who are the creators of wealth, but who have no wealth. And who have seen their living conditions deteriorate over the years. I greet on the occasion of this peace that we have just signed all the Sudanese women everywhere. Women in Sudan, as elsewhere in the world, are the marginalized of the marginalized. Whose suffering goes beyond description. The Sudanese rural woman, for example, gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning to walk 5 kilometers just to get 5 gallons of water. After 5 hours walk, she spends another 5 hours working on the family farm and 5 more hours making the family meal, and then she goes to sleep. I greet and salute all our students on this occasion of the peace agreement. And all our youth who have borne the brunt of the 21 years of this war, and to whom the future belongs, and urge them to invest in their future and that of the nation in the post-conflict period. Compatriots, fellow countrymen and women, congratulations, mabruk wa mabrukat lakum. Your movement, the Splm, SPLA, and the National Congress Party government have delivered to you a comprehensive peace agreement. A just and honorable peace which we have signed today and which you have all witnessed. This is the best Christmas and New Year's gift for the Sudanese people, to our region, and to Africa for 2005. With this peace agreement, we have ended the longest war in Africa, 39 years of two wars since August 1955, out of 50 years of our independence. And if we add the 11 years of Anyanya II, then Sudan had been at war within itself for 49 years, which is the whole of its independence period. With this peace agreement, the Splm and the National Congress Party government have brought half a century of war to a dignified end. Congratulations. With this peace agreement, there will be no more bombs. There will be no more bombs falling from the sky on innocent children and women. Instead of the cries of children and the wailing of women and the pain of the last 21 years of war, peace will bless us once more with hearing the happy giggling of children and the enchanting ululations of women who are excited in happiness for one reason or another. At the political level, this peace agreement affirms the right of self-determination for the people of Southern Sudan and the right of popular consultation for the people of the Nuba Mountains and Blue Nile, so that the unity of the Sudan becomes based on the free will of the peoples instead of on wars and the forced and false unity of the last 49 years. This peace agreement will change the Sudan forever. Sudan cannot and will never be the same again, as this peace agreement will engulf the country in democratic and fundamental transformation instead of being engulfed in wars as it has always been for the last 184 years, since 1821, when our country was first invaded by outside powers and exposed to the ravages of the slave trade and predatory commerce of all sorts, and since before independence from 1955 in civil wars. This peace agreement coincides with the Sudan's 49th independence celebrations. And I agree with what President Bashir said on 31st December in Naivasha, when we signed the last two documents of the Comprehensive Peace Agreement, that Sudan's independence on 1st January 1956 was not complete because there was war in the south. The war we are ending today first broke out in Torit on August 18, 1955, 4 months before independence. And so the South, like other marginalized parts of the Sudan, were really not part of that independence. With this peace agreement, we begin the process of achieving real independence by all Sudanese people and for all the Sudanese people. The signing of this comprehensive peace agreement thus marks the end of what I would correctly call the first republic of the whole Sudan that has lasted 49 years from 1st January 1956 to 31st December 2004, when we signed the last two agreements on comprehensive ceasefire and implementation modalities. And at a personal note, exactly 42 years to the date when I first left Sudan for the bush on December 31st, 1962, to join the First War. I hope I will not go to the bush again. This peace agreement therefore signals the beginning of Sudan's Second Republic of the New Sudan. From here on, Sudan for the first time will be a country voluntarily united in justice, honor, and dignity for all its citizens, regardless of their race, regardless of their religion, regardless of their gender, or else, if the country fails to rise to this challenge of moving away from the old Sudan to the new Sudan of free and equal citizens, then the Union shall be dissolved amicably and peacefully through the right of self-determination at the end of the 6 years of the interim period. I call on the Sudanese people to join this peace agreement, to join the Splm and the National Congress Party in the peace process, because this peace agreement belongs to them. It does not belong to John Garang or the Splm leadership. It does not belong to Ali Osman Taha or President Bashir or to the National Congress Party. This agreement belongs to all of the Sudan, to its neighbors, to Africa, to the Arab world, and indeed to the rest of the world. That is why you see this big attendance today, because this peace belongs to all of them. Although the comprehensive peace agreement was negotiated by two parties as a matter of necessity and practicality in order to end the war in the first place, and now that the war is ended, I call on all the Sudanese people and their political forces to build consensus around the comprehensive peace agreement and use it to end war in other parts of Sudan and to relaunch the Sudan to the promised land of the new Sudan of progress and equality of opportunity for all Sudanese citizens without distinction. Finally and not least, I salute all our martyrs and wounded heroes on both sides. I salute and congratulate all officers, NCOs and soldiers on both sides of the conflict for their heroic sacrifices. I pay tribute and thank our civil population who provided the logistics for the war, especially those in the SPLM administered areas, for without their contribution, this comprehensive peace agreement would not have been possible. It is because of the role played by our civil population in the long war that we have invited some 50 chiefs and traditional leaders representing our civil society at the grassroots. We have also invited the SPLM military band to represent the SPLA rank and file. On this joyous occasion of the signing of the comprehensive peace agreement, and as you will recall that the SPLA has always released prisoners of war, we have released so far more than 3,000 prisoners of war at various times over the last 21 years. I here, as of today, order the immediate release of all prisoners of war that are still under the custody of and care of the SPLA. It is fitting, as we celebrate this momentous historical landmark, to pause to remember the thousands of fellow human beings who recently perished in both Asia and Africa in one of the planet's worst natural disasters of the modern era. Our hearts pour out in grief and solidarity to the peoples of Southeast Asia in this thy hour of tragedy in the hands of a merciless earthquake and tsunamis. As we share the pain and suffering of our fellow human beings in all the countries that have been devastated by the earthquake and the accompanying tsunamis or tidal waves, we also urge the international community, after it has pledged so generously to help elevate the suffering and rebuild shattered lives in the affected region, to spare some resources to help post-conflict Sudan recover and develop. We therefore look forward to a massive turnout of donors with their pledges at the prospective Oslo Donors Conference for Sudan, which is scheduled soon. Excellencies, compatriots, fellow citizens, in order to understand and appreciate the present historical moment of the signing of the Sudan Comprehensive Peace Agreement, I beg your indulgence to allow me to talk briefly about the problem that we are solving now, and to which President Museveni referred to before as the problem of people with the turbines and people with ostrich feathers. As I said before, Sudan has been at war within itself for the whole of 49 years of its independence. And as we end this war today, another serious one is intensifying in the western Darfur region. while another threatens in eastern Sudan. Why? What is the problem? Why should a community subject itself to generations of war and suffering in so many parts of the country? In our view, the attempt by various Khartoum-based regimes since 1956 to build a monolithic Arab Islamic state to the exclusion of other parameters of the Sudanese diversity constitutes the fundamental problem of the Sudan and defines the Sudanese conflict. The Sudanese state hitherto has excluded the vast majority of the Sudanese people from governance and therefore their marginalization in the political, economic and social fields. This provoked resistance by the excluded. There have been wars and there continues to be wars in the Sudan simply because the majority of the Sudanese are not stakeholders in governance. The solution to the fundamental problem of Sudan is to evolve an all-inclusive Sudanese state, which we have called the New Sudan, a new Sudanese political dispensation in which all Sudanese are equally stakeholders, irrespective of their religion, irrespective of their race, tribe, or gender. And if this does not work, then to look for other solutions, such as a split in the country. But we believe that a new Sudan is possible, for there are many people in northern Sudan who share with us in the SPLM, SPLA, including the National Congress Party, who believe in the universal ideals of humanity, the ideals of liberty, of freedom, justice and equality of opportunity for all Sudanese citizens. As is the case in the south, the events in Darfur, eastern Sudan and elsewhere have made it clear that we must have an all-inclusive Sudanese state at the national level and full devolution of power to the various regions of the Sudan. For otherwise, it is unlikely that the country would stand a chance of remaining united. But this all-inclusive Sudanese state, which we have called the New Sudan, must have some basis, for example in history, that makes us one country or one nation. The question is whether there is a basis for the Sudan as a country. And my answer has always been yes, there is. That is, this affirmative answer to this question has guided us and sustained the SPLM for the last 21 years until today. For this purpose, I have always wanted to go down the corridors of history, and I want to do this very briefly, again begging your indulgence and taking it for that matter. I'm a gorilla, I take my time, you see. Our presentation in the SPLM is that we, the Sudanese, are indeed a historical people, and that the new Sudan has an anchor in history. If we cannot find an anchor in history, then we either create one or dissolve the union peacefully. Sometimes it is necessary to go back in order to gain momentum, in order to go forward. President Museveni called it something in his language. That is why you see sheep, you see rams moving backwards first when they fight. They gain momentum before they lock horns. Recently in Southeast Asia, it was noticed that the tragedy of the earthquake and the tsunamis, first the sea receded back and then came forward with a devastating force. We very much need to do this exercise in the Sudan, to go back thousands of years so as to rediscover ourselves, gain momentum, and then move forward with the momentum of 5,000 years to propel ourselves and smash ourselves into history once again. And we have a very long history indeed. Peoples and kingdoms have lived, thrived, and disappeared in the geographical area that constitutes the present modern Sudan. Many people will be surprised that in the Bible, in the Old Testament, the Sudan was part of the Garden of Eden. Where it is stated in Genesis chapter 2, verse 18 to 14, that the Garden of Eden was watered by 4 rivers. One of them is the White Nile. It is the Pishon in the Bible. The other is the Gihon. and there is a Gihon Hotel in Addis Ababa. It is the Blue Nile. And to the east by the Tigris and the Euphrates. So the Garden of Eden was not a small vegetable garden, it was a vast piece of territory. My own village happens to be just east of the Nile, so I fall in the Garden of Eden. It will surprise many of you that the Prophet Moses was married to a Sudanese named Zipporah, as narrated in the book of Numbers. From the biblical days, we move to the ancient Sudanese kingdoms of Awad, of Eritrea, of Anu, of Majda, that are believed to be connected with the present-day Dinka, Shuluk, Nuer, other Nilotic tribes, and the peoples of Central and Western Sudan. And up the corridors of history, we move to the kingdom of Marawi, that bequeathed and spread iron civilization to the rest of Africa. Marawi got transformed into the Christian kingdoms of Nubia. There then followed the spread of Islam and Arab migration into the Sudan, and the subsequent collapse of the last Nubian Christian kingdoms of Makuria, Alawa, and Soba in 1504. Followed by the rise on the arches of the Islamic kingdom of Sinar, which was founded by the Funch and the Chuluk people. The rest of Sudanese history is familiar to all of us, from the Islamic kingdoms of Sinar to the Turco-Egyptian occupation, to the first Islamic Mahadist state, to the Anglo-Egyptian condominium, to independence in 1956, and to the Anyanya movement of 1955 to 1972, to the SPLA in 1983, to the second Islamic state in the Sudan of the Ingaz, with which we negotiated from 1989, and to the comprehensive peace agreement which we signed today. This is the history of the Sudan, and this is how we got here. It has been a long journey of more than 5,000 years to reach Naivasha and Nyayo Stadium today. It is important to know and appreciate where we came from in order to better be able to chart the way forward with the momentum of historical force. That was Sudan in history. As for the contemporary Sudan, we have more than 500 different ethnic groups, speaking more than 130 different languages. We have two major religions in the country, Islam and Christianity, and traditional African religions. Our contention in the SPLA is that the Sudan belongs equally to all the peoples that now inhabit the country, and its history, its diversity and richness is the common heritage of all Sudanese. The comprehensive peace agreement that we have signed today is based on these historical and contemporary objective realities of Sudan. And by implementing the provisions of the comprehensive peace agreement that we have signed today, we shall evolve an all-inclusive form of governance that ensures that all Sudanese are equal stakeholders, irrespective of where they come from. And this is what will keep our country together. Furthermore, by adapting and applying the form of governance and wealth-sharing arrangements stipulated in the Comprehensive Peace Agreement to other parts of the country with similar afflictions as the South, such as Darfur, Eastern Sudan, and other parts of the country, we can once again become a great nation that is voluntarily united in diversity rather than divided by diversity and forcibly kept under a coerced and fake unity. This is the context and the value of the Comprehensive Peace Agreement we have signed today. It provides the Sudan with a rare and perhaps the last opportunity to make a real paradigm shift from the old Sudan of exclusivity to the new Sudan of inclusivity, achieved not through force, but through the exercise of the right of self-determination. Viewed this way, the right of self-determination, which is one of the cornerstones of the Comprehensive Peace Agreement, is a blessing rather than a curse, as many northern Sudanese fear. I want to assure you that we will all work together with the National Congress Party and other political forces in the Sudan so that we develop a new paradigm so that we keep our country together. Excellencies, distinguished guests, compatriots, ladies and gentlemen, bear with me, I'm almost finished. The transformation which shall be engendered by this agreement, to which I have alluded to, shall be reflected first and foremost in democratic mutation, and to which the SPLM is fully committed. Surely by democratic, we do not mean return to the sham procedural democracy of the past, which was but a camouflage for the perpetuation of vested interests. In that sham democracy, civil rights were subject to the whims of rulers. The majority of Sudanese in the regions remained peripheral to the center of power and was treated as an expendable quantum, only to be manipulated through political trickery and double dealing. Transformation envisaged in the Comprehensive Peace Agreement puts an end to all that, since it represents a political and socio-economic paradigm shift which entails recognition of political diversity by guaranteeing full freedom for political pluralism, the entrenchment of human rights and people's rights in the Constitution, the upholding of the independence of the judiciary, including the creation of an inviolable constitutional court and commitment to the rule of law by the government and the governed, and the establishment of a truly independent and competent civil service at all levels of government. It also conceptualizes and seeks to realize a recreation of the legislature in a manner that shall ensure rigorous checks and balances and guarantees powers to the government of Southern Sudan and to the states, powers which can neither be withdrawn nor impaired by other centers of power. Eventually, the Comprehensive Peace Agreement ordains that within a maximum of 3 to 4 years, governance at all levels shall be mandated by the supreme will of the people through internationally monitored free and fair elections. Excellencies, distinguished guests, compatriots, ladies and gentlemen, the long war to which we have put an end to today impoverished our citizens and reduced our country with tremendous resources to destitution. Without claiming that the new economic paradigm shift to which I have alluded to is the ultimate panacea for curing the nation's ills, it provides at least a vision and modalities to address the problems besetting the nation in the here and now, while I leave the world hereafter to those who claim to have divine qualifications. In Southern Sudan and other war-affected areas, as well as in the slums of our major cities, the baseline from which we shall start development is shocking, and I will not bore you here with the statistics of the status of these parameters, such as prevalence of child malnutrition, primary education, mortality rates among children, rate of maternal mortality, rate of births attended by skilled health staff, access to improved water sources. This is statistics in Southern Sudan in particular and other war-affected areas are among the worst in the world. To combat this pervasive and humiliating poverty and political disenfranchisement, a general policy framework has been charted out and published in a booklet entitled SPLM Strategic Framework for War to Peace Transition. In summary, the SPLM shall articulate and implement a social, political, and economic development strategy and programs that include the following highlights. First, the SPLM shall adopt an economic development paradigm that emphasizes growth through rural development and transformation of traditional agriculture that is integrated with agro-industries. We must transform the present subsistence traditional agriculture in Southern Sudan and other areas through technological innovations, making agriculture the engine of growth, and agriculture as the engine of growth will literally be fueled by oil. The building of dikes for flood control and canals and underground water development for irrigation will be priorities to guarantee crop production. Secondly, the SPLM will change the urban bias and center-focused development paradigm in favor of rural and decentralized development. The SPLM vision, policy, and slogan shall be to take the towns to people in the countryside rather than people to towns, where they end up in slums, as happened in many countries with a consequent deterioration in their quality of life. Rural small town planning and rural electrification will therefore be priorities. Thirdly, the SPLM shall emphasize and develop new ways of delivery of social services. As we move to the new era of peace, the people of Sudan, particularly in the war-affected communities, face formidable social and economic problems and also tremendous opportunities. The major problems that require immediate attention fall in the areas of health, education, and water. We must find new ways to rapidly and efficiently deliver these services. For example, constructing windmills all over the rural Sudan to provide clean drinking water and build micro dams for generating small-scale hydroelectric power for rural towns, as well as the use of solar, wind, and biomass energy sources. Fourthly, the SPLM shall exert all efforts to build physical infrastructure, roads, rail, and river transport and telecommunications. There has never been any tarmac road in the new Sudan since creation, since the days of Adam and Eve. And this is an area the size of Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, and Burundi put together. The SPLM vision for transport infrastructure is at 3 levels: to develop regional linkages within Southern Sudan and with the neighbors and with Northern Sudan, and to involve the state and local communities in this infrastructure building. Fifthly and finally, in terms of social and cultural parameters, the SPLM shall adopt strategies and programs that shall restore and achieve dignity of people of the Sudan through social and cultural empowerment. Programs will include information and media, radio, TV, print, promotion of New Sudan arts, songs, dances, theater of New Sudan, sports, development of local languages and cultures by the various communities of the Sudan, archives of the struggle and modern history of Sudan, archaeology, antiquities, and ancient history of Sudan, Africa, and the Middle East, so that we can find our rightful place in the world. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, to conclude, the Comprehensive Peace Agreement and safeguards full compliance with the requirements of the agreement. The SPLM will work in partnership with the National Congress Party. The objectives of this partnership is to ensure a sincere implementation of the Comprehensive Peace Agreement in both letter and spirit, and to provide, within the parameters of this agreement, permanent solutions to the problems inherent in Sudan's cultural, social, and political diversity. Failure to appreciate the wealth in diversity was another cause of national crisis. For diversity, viewed positively, is a mutually enriching phenomenon and ultimately a source of national cohesion and strength. Viewed otherwise, that is, as a source of dissimilarity or distinction, it shall lead inevitably to the ultimate disintegration of the country as threatened today, and which at all costs we must avoid. Furthermore, the partnership does not mean abandonment of political allies by any of the two parties. However, this partnership, while safeguarding the new political dispensation, shall in effect nurture the democratic transformation and political multiplicity, which by their very nature may lead to diverse alliances. But so long as those alliances are based on commitment to the letter and spirit of the peace agreements that we have put an end to the longest war in Africa, alliances become assets, not liabilities. It is our submission that political struggle in the Sudan shall henceforth translate into competing visions of peace, progress, and development, and never into the use of force or the threat of the use of force. The SPLM, ladies and gentlemen, will ensure that the new political dispensation is wide enough to accommodate all legitimate political and social forces in the country. It is therefore our hope to achieve popular consensus on those agreements. As the movement that has been fighting against marginalization of others, we shall not tolerate the exclusion of anybody from this process. The parties to the Comprehensive Peace Agreement share this conviction, and we have included in the agreement inclusiveness. In this regard, the SPLM will play its role at the national level to work with the National Congress Party and other political forces to ensure full inclusiveness. While the SPLM and the National Congress Party shall be major partners in the initial interim government of national unity, our understanding of partnership is well rooted in inclusiveness, which means to bring on board all political forces in the Sudan, chief among them the political parties within the National Congress Party umbrella and the political parties within the National Democratic Alliance, which we call upon to complete negotiations with the government of Sudan based on the Jeddah agreement that are holding negotiations in Cairo, and so that they take their share in the government of national unity and participate fully in all the national commissions stipulated in the Comprehensive Peace Agreement, especially the National Constitution Review Commission. Finally, on issues that concern Southern Sudanese, I want to say a little on South-South dialogue. On building national consensus, the SPLM will also spearhead the South-South dialogue. This dialogue, above all, is to heal wounds and restore fraternity and mutual respect so as to create a healthy political environment that is accommodative of all Southern Sudanese political forces, both at the level of Southern Sudan and at the national level. But South-South dialogue is not only about power, it is about an inevitable democratic exercise based on mature and selfless political discourse among Southern Sudanese, with a view of galvanizing all our human material resources for the services of our people. Democracy, whether in the north or south, should no longer be viewed as solely a struggle for power, but rather as a competition on providing good governance, development and delivery of social services for our people, and restoring the dignity and worth of every man and woman. Yet in terms of power sharing in Southern Sudan, I want to assure all that there will be enough room for everybody, including those who have not been associated with the SPLM-SPLA. Even those who for one reason or another were opposed or against the SPLM, there will be room for everybody. I want in conclusion to quote, in terms of this inclusiveness, the Gospel according to St. John, that says in St. John chapter 14, verse 1 and 2, "Do not be worried and upset," Jesus told them, "Believe in God and believe also in me. There are many rooms in my Father's house, and I am going to prepare a place for you." I would not say this if it were not true. So I say to all Southern Sudanese, on the occasion of this signing of this comprehensive peace agreement, that there will be many rooms in an SPLM-based government in Southern Sudan, and all are welcome. I also want to assure Southern Sudanese in general that the comprehensive peace agreement will not be dishonored like other agreements that Abel Alier has written a book about, entitled "Too Many Agreements Dishonored." The biggest challenge will be implementation of the peace agreement, but we both the SPLM and the National Congress Party, are fully committed to the implementation of this agreement. There are both external and internal guarantees, organic and external guarantees, that will ensure the implementation of this agreement. I want also to assure the SPLA that the experience of Anyanya 1 will not repeat itself, because there are many SPLA soldiers that are worried that they will be left out by peace. This regards the issue of funding of the armed forces. We solved the issue of funding of the armed forces adequately. The Joint Integrated Units component of the SPLA shall be funded by the Government of National Unity, not as a separate army from the mother SPLM, but as part and parcel of it, with the same wage and living conditions. The mother SPLA, on the other hand, will be funded by the government of Southern Sudan. And the government of Southern Sudan has been empowered by the Comprehensive Peace Agreement to raise financial resources from both local and foreign sources and to seek international assistance for that purpose. So there is no reason for concern or alarm. As for those who are in the diaspora, I would like to address them and assure them that the government of Southern Sudan, as well as the government of national unity, will need their skills. And I take the opportunity of this forum to appeal to all our diaspora to return home and to build our country. As I said before, our house has many rooms, and the diaspora are welcome to return home and fully participate in the development of Southern Sudan, the two areas, Abyei and the whole of Sudan. Last but not least, I would like to pay tribute to our fallen heroes and martyrs who sacrificed in order for us to celebrate this day on both sides of the conflict. Those, ladies and gentlemen, are the objectives for whose achievement I have exerted all my faculties and energies and efforts, and for which we will cooperate and work together with the National Congress Party so that we move in a new direction and achieve the cohesion and the unity of our people and the unity of our country. Finally, let me pay tribute and salute the courage of the other party to reach this agreement, and in particular President Omar Hassan al-Bashir and Ustaz Ali Osman Taha, with whom I sat for 16 months and negotiated this agreement. I salute and congratulate them. I also congratulate the two delegations of the Splm and the government of Sudan, and of course General Sombeyo, and before him Ambassador Daniel Mboya, who was the special envoy. Also before them, Zachary Onyanko, Bethlehem Kipligat, and Foreign Minister then, Stephen Kolonso Misioka, and now Minister Koech, and other ministers of reconstruction. I must also mention a few of the very many names to thank for their contribution to the Sudan peace process. Among them are eminent people like President Obasanjo, President Babangida of Nigeria, President Kaunda, Mugabe, Nasiri, Njoma, Chisano, Rawlings, who is here with us today, Mandela of South Africa, Mubarak of Egypt, Gaddafi, Bouteflika, who is here with us today, Jimmy Carter, the late James Grant, and OLS that has saved millions of lives since 1989, President Bush and his Secretary of State Colin Powell, and his special envoy Senator Danforth and Andrew Natsios of USAID, both houses of the United States Congress, Prime Minister Tony Blair and his envoys, Ambassadors Alan Gulchi and McPhail, the United Nations Secretary General and his envoys, Ambassadors Shahnoon and Pronk, who are here, and a special friend of Sudan, of the Sudan peace process, the Norwegian Minister Hilda Johnson. And finally, last but not least, the leaders of this region, led by then President Daniel Arap Moi and now by President Mwai Kibaki, President Museveni, Prime Minister Zenawi, President of Afwerki, and the Wananchi of Kenya, and East Africa Muzima. And finally, I pay tribute and thanks to my dear wife Rebecca and the wives of all my colleagues and comrades in the struggle for their patience and contributions, for which without their help the bush would not have been bearable. My sincere thanks to all these people. I pay tribute finally to all the Sudanese people to whom this peace belongs, and I say to them, Mabruk alaikum. Thank you very much.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, before I invite the next speaker, may I make the following announcements. That there will also be 1-minute presentations from the UK, India, Eritrea, and Italy. That will take not more than 6 minutes. However, it is now my greatest honor and privilege to invite Mrs. Hilda Johnson, Minister for International Cooperation and IGAD Partners Forum, Co-Chair. Your Excellency.
Thank you. Presidents, Ministers, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, today, now we have witnessed history. This is maybe the most important day in Sudan's history. The war is over. It is a day to celebrate the people of Sudan. It is a day to salute you, the leaders of the people of Sudan. It is a day to set on the journey of peace. You, Vice President Ali Osman Taha, and the Splm Chairman Dr. John Garang have shown great courage and determination in delivering this peace agreement. You can now bring about a new Sudan, a Sudan of hope, of justice, of opportunity, and of unity. On behalf of the IGAD Partners Forum and the Norwegian government, it is fantastic for me to stand here and congratulate not only IGAD, but the Sudanese leaders and not for all the Sudanese people on the signing of this comprehensive peace agreement. More than 20 years of civil war is over. In fact, 39 years of war is over. Over the past 7 of these years, I have witnessed at close hand the strenuous efforts that lie behind this agreement today. And now we are here. You, the leaders of Sudan, have brought a challenging process to a successful end. In front of you is another, even more challenging one. And I'll say a few words about that. Because the signing of the peace agreement is only a first step. Implementation will be the test. The agreement must be followed to the letter, step by step, decision by decision, action by action. Signatures alone do not deliver peace. Action does. When the agreement is translated into reality, let us see action from tomorrow. We trust that you, the leaders, will bring about the new Sudan you both have talked about. We count on you to quickly form a new government of national unity in Khartoum, to include other opposition parties and political forces in the running of the country, to decentralize decision-making and establish the regional bodies. We count on you for the rapid reconstruction of areas devastated by war, to deliver to the people, and for accountability and transparency throughout the process. We count on you to bring about reconciliation in local communities in the south and all over the country, and to include marginalized groups and women in the political processes. We count on you to ensure peace and stability and put an end to all fighting in Sudan by all actors. We count on you to find a swift and sustainable solution to the problems in Darfur. The situation in Darfur must be brought under control. The crisis cannot be allowed to continue. Peace must be established in the whole of Sudan. We need a political solution to the crisis in the Western region. The agreement of today provides a basis for a solution in Darfur. This opportunity must not be squandered. Indeed, it must be job number one for the new government in Khartoum. Darfur must also be included in the forthcoming reconstruction efforts. The international community must step forward as your partners in providing the necessary international guarantees, in monitoring the ceasefire, in assessing and evaluating progress, and in rebuilding the country. the reconstruction of Sudan will be a task of enormous proportions. This burden of reconstruction in Africa, as in Asia these days, must be shared by the whole of the international donor community. Sudan must not now suffer from the Tasmani catastrophe in Asia. As donors, we must deliver to the Sudanese. Norway will host the first international donor conference for Sudan as soon as the political and humanitarian situation allows. Welcome to Oslo, and I believe that donors will respond generously. In turn, we expect money to be spent wisely and accountably and with transparency. You, the Sudanese leaders, you have demonstrated genuine leadership, courage, commitment, a true commitment to the vision of a just, unified and stable Sudan. We count on you to follow through in this process. We count on you to deliver on your own promises. We count on you to bring about a better life for all Sudanese. Today is the day to celebrate a job well done, but tomorrow heralds the beginning of an even greater challenge, translating words into actions. The international community will stand by your side. As we count on you to deliver, you can count on us. Together, we can and we will succeed in creating a peaceful and prosperous Sudan for all Sudanese. The peoples of your great country deserve no less. Thank you very much.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I now invite Honorable Hilary Benn, the Minister of International Cooperation of the United Kingdom, to make his brief statement.
President Kibaki, Presidents, Vice Presidents, Ministers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the United Kingdom, I would like to warmly welcome this historic peace agreement for Sudan and for its people, and to pay tribute to Dr. John Garang and to Ali Osman Taha on their great achievement, to the Government of Kenya for hosting these talks, to Lieutenant General Sumbeyo for his tireless efforts to help the parties to bring these negotiations to a successful conclusion, to our fellow members of the Troika, the United States of America and Norway, to Colin Powell and to Hilda Jonsson, for the important role that they have played. And can I also pay tribute to many officials, colleagues from the United Kingdom who have worked so hard to support this process. As we have heard, this agreement not only brings to an end Africa's longest-running civil war, a war that has claimed so many lives, mothers and fathers, sons and daughters, but it also represents the best hope for peace in the whole of Sudan. And Hilda was right. If negotiating this peace was difficult, then implementing it will be harder still. And that is why we must, and we will, continue to support the parties, the new government, as they turn words into progress to help Sudan move towards a democratic, a pluralist, and a federal future. Every citizen of Sudan wants to live in peace, and that will only happen when there is peace in every part of Sudan, including Darfur. And I therefore urge the government of Sudan, the SLA and the JEM to honour the agreements they have signed to end the violence and to show the same determination and courage to use negotiation to solve the problems of Darfur that those who negotiated this agreement in Naivasha did, which has brought us here this afternoon. This occasion, this celebration, shows what can be achieved when politics replaces conflict and when hope succeeds despair. And when conflict ends, there is one thing that people hope for more than anything else. It is to be able to go back home and to get on with their lives. And let all of us today resolve to continue to do all that we can to help all of the people of Sudan to do that, so that they can, over the months and years ahead, build a better future for themselves, their families, and the generation that will come after them. Thank you very much.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I now invite His Excellency Ahmed, Minister of State for External Affairs from the Republic of India. Your Excellency.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to be present here on behalf of the Government of India on this historic occasion to witness the signing of the comprehensive peace agreement between the Government of Sudan and the Sudan People's Liberation Movement. I am very happy that I have come a long way only to attend and to witness this happy occasion. This signing ceremony is symbolic of the enduring unity of the multicultural and multi-ethnic peoples of Sudan. This historic peace agreement negotiated between the Government of Sudan and the Splm under the aegis of the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, chaired by the Kenyan President, is witness to the end of 2 decades of conflict and the peaceful solution through negotiation on a variety of issues of discord, resulting in comprehensive protocols. India reiterates its continuing support to the unity, sovereignty, and territorial integrity of the Sudan. The peace agreement is evidence of the high statesmanship of the leaders of the Government of Sudan and Splm. India will continue to work with Sudan in this path for further political devolution and economic progress and development. India shares with the African countries a common historic heritage and confronts the same development problems for our peoples. India's substantial bilateral relations with the African nations, covering many sectors over many decades, have been strengthened with the formation of the African Union, a union that integrates the continent. India and Africa are involved in several initiatives which are of mutual benefit. In this connection, I may refer one of these projects we have taken as an initiative on the part of Government of India. Our space agency, Indian Space Research Organization, is working on our presidential initiative to enhance connectivity in the areas of education and telecommunication, as well as development programs such as health, environment, etc. through satellite linkages. I reiterate on behalf of the government and people of India our continuing commitment to the unity, integrity and development of Sudan, following on this historic peace agreement under the aegis of IGAD. Our gratitude to our host, the Kenyan government, which has played a key role in ensuring the success of this peace process in this strategic region of Africa, and our commitment to enhancing our relations with African nations and the African Union. Thank you very much.
Your Excellencies, may I now invite Honorable Ali Said Abdallah, who will read a brief statement on behalf of President Isaias Afwerki of Eritrea.
Your Excellency President Mwai Kibaki, President of the Republic of Kenya, Your Excellency Head of States and Governments, Your Excellency President Omar Hassan al-Bashir, Your Excellency Dr. John Garang, ladies and gentlemen. Let me join previous speakers to express our utmost delight on this glorious day. I am indeed honored to extend Eritrea's warmest congratulations on behalf of the President Isias Afwerki, the government and the people of Eritrea, and on my own behalf to the parties, to the people of the Sudan for their historic achievements. Ladies and gentlemen, and now allow me to say a few words on behalf of my President to the Sudanese people in Arabic. الشعب السوداني الشقيق، في هذا اليوم التاريخي العظيم نهنئكم كأشقاء وشركاء بتحقيق هذا الإنجاز التاريخي الذي نحتفل به اليوم رغم كل العقبات والصعاب التي تعرضت لها العملية التفاوضية الطويلة والمضنية. إن السلام في السودان سلام لنا جميعا في هذه المنطقة باعتبارنا أشقاء للسودان وشركاء له في السراء والضراء. نعم، لقد جاء السلام وها نحن ومعنا العالم كله لنحتفل بالتوقيع على وثائقه، ولكن الأهم هو تطبيق اتفاق السلام، وهذا يحتاج إلى جانب النيات الحسنة، الالتزام الجدي والمسؤول ليس من طرفي الاتفاق وحسب، بل من كل القوى والأطراف السياسية السودانية، حتى يجنس الشعب السوداني كله وكافة شعوب منطقتنا ثمار السلام في تحقيق الأمن والاستقرار والتنمية. وإن هذا الالتزام السوداني الشامل باتفاقية السلام نسا وروحا يشكل الضمانة الأساسية لتطبيق هذه الاتفاقية وإحلال السلام الدائم في ربوع السودان الموحد. أيها الشعب السوداني الشقيق، اليوم وبالتوقيع على هذا الاتفاق بين الحكومة السودانية والحركة الشعبية لتحرير السودان، يكون الشعب السوداني قد طوى صفحة سوداء من تاريخه وبدأ صفحة جديدة ملؤها الأمل والتفاؤل بسودان جديد ينعم بالأمن والسلام. لكن علينا أن لا ننسى بأن السلام واحد لا يتجزأ، وهنا من الصعب الحديث عن سلام شامل في السودان، وأجزاء عديدة في غربه وشرقه ما زالت تعاني من ويلات الحرب وعدم الاستقرار. وعليه نناشد من هذا المنبر طرفي الاتفاق ليتحمل مسؤوليتهم لجعل هذا الاتفاق اتفاقا شاملا، وذلك بإيجاد الحلول المطلوبة لكل القضايا المتبقية. كما نؤكد لكم في هذه المناسبة الجليلة بأن إريتريا رئيسا وحكومة وشعبا ستضع كل إمكاناتها في مساندتكم على تحقيق سلام شامل ودائم في كل أرجاء السودان. لنعمل معا من أجل السلام، بالسلام نحيا جميعا، وشكرا جزيلا.
Your Excellencies, last but not least, I wish to invite Senator Alfredo Mantica of Italy. Italy has also been a witness to the agreement that has been signed this morning. It is my honor to welcome Senator Mantica.
Signor Presidente Kibaki, signori capi di Stato e capi di Governo, gentili ospiti, signore e signori, esprimo a nome del Governo italiano, del Liga Partner Forum come co-chair, e a livello personale le congratulazioni più vive alle parti per il giusto coronamento del loro instancabile impegno per porre fine a 20 anni di guerra civile.
I now invite His Excellency Dr. John Garang the Mabior, Chairman of the Sudanese People's Liberation Movement.